Some men spend their lives searching for meaning. Søren Kierkegaard found it, and it destroyed him. Imagine living in a world where no one understands you, where your ideas are too radical, too dangerous, too personal. A world where your genius isolates you, leaving you alone with your thoughts, your fears, and the crushing weight of existence itself. This was Kierkegaard's life, one of relentless questioning, deep suffering, and a discovery so profound that it cost him everything. He asked the hardest questions. What is despair? What does it mean to be truly free? Can faith exist without doubt? And in answering them, he reshaped philosophy forever. But his truth was not easy to bear. It consumed him. Born in 1813, Søren Kierkegaard grew up under the shadow of a father who saw life as a punishment. His father, a wealthy but deeply melancholic man, believed he had cursed his own family. He had once been a poor shepherd, who, after cursing God in a moment of despair, became mysteriously wealthy. To him, this was proof of divine judgment, not fortune. Kierkegaard absorbed this heavy, almost apocalyptic worldview. While other children played, he read philosophy. While others laughed, he contemplated death. He was raised to believe that suffering was inevitable, and that perhaps in some way it was deserved. This wasn't just childhood sadness. It was the seed of a lifelong obsession. An obsession with despair, faith, and what it truly means to be human. If you had met Søren Kierkegaard as a young man, you might have thought he had a future of happiness ahead of him. He was intelligent, well-educated, and deeply in love with Regine Olsen. But Kierkegaard had a way of destroying anything that brought him comfort. Despite being madly in love, he broke off their engagement. Why? Because he believed he was destined for something greater. Something that love and marriage would distract him from. He saw himself as cursed, incapable of making another person happy. And so he abandoned love in pursuit of truth. This decision haunted him for the rest of his life. His works would be filled with reflections on love, despair, and sacrifice. He would write about the pain of choosing and how every choice comes with suffering. But he never took her back. He couldn't. After leaving Regine, Kierkegaard threw himself into writing. But his works weren't just academic philosophy. They were deeply personal. He wasn't just analyzing despair, he was living it. His books weren't just about abstract ideas. They were about real suffering of real people. They were about the choices we make and the burdens we carry, and they were dangerous. His ideas were ridiculed. He was seen as eccentric, obsessed, and even insane. But he didn't care. He believed he had a duty to expose the truth about human existence, no matter the cost. By the time of his death, at 42, Kierkegaard had written some of the most profound and challenging works in philosophy. But what did he actually believe? What did he discover that changed everything? And why is his answer still one of the most unsettling truths about existence? Kierkegaard believed life unfolds in three stages: the aesthetic, the ethical, and the religious. Each one is a different way of living, but only one leads to true meaning. In the aesthetic stage, people chase beauty, pleasure, and distractions. They avoid deeper questions, living for entertainment and indulgence. But this eventually leads to despair, a realization that pleasure alone is hollow. Some escape into the ethical stage, where they try to live by principles and responsibility. They seek purpose through rules, justice, and being a good person. But even this stage is not enough, because morality alone cannot answer life's biggest questions. For Kierkegaard, the final stage is the religious, where one takes a leap of faith. Not blind belief, but a personal confrontation with meaning. A terrifying, radical commitment to something beyond reason. But faith for Kierkegaard is not certainty, it is a paradox. It is believing despite doubt, trusting despite fear. And it is the only way to truly live. Despair, according to Kierkegaard, is not just sadness. It is the feeling of being disconnected from who you truly are. Most people are in despair without even knowing it. They live false lives, hiding from themselves. And the worst kind of despair is the one that feels normal. To be free, we must confront our despair. We must acknowledge that we are not truly ourselves, and then do the terrifying work of becoming who we are meant to be. Freedom sounds like a gift, but for Kierkegaard, it was also a curse. To be truly free is to be responsible for your own existence, and that is terrifying. This is the anxiety of choice, the weight of knowing that every decision shapes who you become. Most people avoid this anxiety by conforming. They follow the crowd, they let others decide for them. But to live authentically, you must embrace that fear. You must make choices not because they are easy, but because they are true. Kierkegaard's ideas were radical, unsettling, and deeply personal. But they were also liberating. He showed us that despair is not the enemy. It is the call to wake up. Freedom is not comfort. It is the burden of choice. Faith is not certainty. It is the courage to leap. But what do these ideas mean for us today? How can we apply Kierkegaard's philosophy to our modern lives? Kierkegaard warned us about a world where people distract themselves to avoid confronting their own existence. That world is now our reality. We live in an era of infinite distractions, short videos, breaking news, constant entertainment. But beneath it all, the same problem remains, an underlying despair that we refuse to face. Kierkegaard's greatest insight was that despair is not just sadness. It is the feeling of being disconnected from your true self. And in our hyper-connected world, that disconnection has never been greater. Kierkegaard believed that most people live according to the crowd, society's expectations, norms, and pressures. The problem, the crowd doesn't care about you. We're told how to dress, what to believe, how to act. But how many of those choices are truly our own? Kierkegaard's answer was radical. You must choose yourself. You must be willing to break away from the crowd, even when it's painful, even when it means being alone, because the alternative is a life lived in quiet despair. Freedom is terrifying. Every choice you make defines who you are, and in a world with endless options, that weight can feel unbearable. Kierkegaard understood this anxiety. He called it the dizziness of freedom, the fear that comes when you realize you alone are responsible for your life. But he also believed that anxiety is necessary, because to be truly free you must embrace it. You must accept the burden of choosing, not because it's easy, but because it's what makes you real. Kierkegaard's most famous idea, the leap of faith, is not just about religion. It's about trust. It's about committing to something even when certainty is impossible. In life, you'll never have absolute certainty. Whether it's relationships, careers, or personal purpose, there will always be doubt. But Kierkegaard's challenge to us is this: will you let doubt paralyze you, or will you take the leap? Kierkegaard's philosophy is not just about fate or despair. It's about courage. The courage to face yourself, to choose your own path, to accept the weight of existence and still move forward. Because in the end, the meaning of life is not something you find, it's something you create. It's about the journey, not the destination. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, consider giving it a like and subscribing for more explorations into the enigma of life.